Hey everybody, I'm Matt Hill. I am in the Trace Management podcast studio. Trace Management is an oil and gas engineering and consulting firm, so thank you for them being the beneficiaries, or I'm the beneficiary, I guess I should say. Anyway, I host this podcast for Oilfield Tailgate. Oilfield Tailgate's coming up, so if you're watching and want to plug that, make sure that you go to oilfieldtailgate.com. We're raising money for sponsorships. You get 6 parties out of the deal, and you get to splash your logo all over the website and all over these podcasts. They're in the credits. I want you, if you're a sponsor, I want you to come in here and give your story about who you are and what you do, why you do it. And I mean, really, advertising dollars, best bang for your buck. I'm sure a lot of people know me just because of Oilfield Tailgate and all the years I've been working on it. Since 2010, we've been doing that. So this was just something that came out of that I wanted to give back more to the sponsors and say, hey, thank you for pitching into the party where you invite all of your customers, and 6 home games or 7 this year. You gather with them, network, and food's provided, the space is provided, the fun, the adventure, the drinks, the live music, local bands. I mean, it's so much fun, and it's so neat that all of that has come out. I mean, I'm in here really because of that.
Yep, the 5 best things about football, right? Tailgating, drinking, talking, and having a good time, and then watching the game.
I don't even drink anymore at the tailgate parties. So go around the room and tell everybody who you are and what you're doing. Of course, I want you to tell everybody who you are and then how you got in oil and gas. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Oh, Ronnie Troglin. I started Troglin Tank Gauge back in 2007. Been in the oil and gas for about 16 years now. And recently got into lightning prevention with Doug Marcille. So now I'm doing tank gauges and lightning prevention.
That's good. And then luckily for you and I, our customers are the same on that side of things. And so I was immediately like, let's talk.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you've got what? Lightning protection.
Lightning prevention.
Prevention. Yes. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, the biggest thing on lightning prevention, obviously the world is still going to continue to go, and there's still going to be clouds, there's going to be lightning, but the beauty of the lightning prevention that we're referring to is within the protected asset itself. This device can actually protect the oil and gas, the precious resources that are in our nation, right? That need this kind of benefit to not only protect the people that are servicing this country and making the cars go down the road, but it's also protecting the assets too as well, and preventing the lightning strike within that 100-meter radius of what this device has the capability of doing. So is really kind of a cool concept in the fact that we're bringing this now into the United States when unfortunately we're kind of behind some of these third world countries that have had this device for like the last 7 years. It's been in the Colombian oil and gas field, and then just now making its way into the U.S. And so we're super excited about the kind of buzz that it's generating, so to speak, in regards to being able to prevent it.
Well, this selfless individual doesn't even worry about his name on here at all. He's ready to roll up his sleeves and get into the meat of this. But now you're not getting out of this. What's your name?
Man, Doug Marcille. I'm with Lightning Dome Protectors.
Lightning Dome Protectors. You are just now starting to hear about Lightning Dome Protectors, everybody. But these are going to be wanted quickly.
That's right. Yep. So we're on LinkedIn, and then our webpage, www.lightningdp.com. You can go in there. It's got a little short animated video on kind of how the technology. There aren't a whole lot of people that understand the kind of dynamics that go into lightning and what causes it. And so, that education factor is really super important in going in and trying to help people visualize really what causes those streamers and why do they come from the cloud to the ground, or why do they not come even to the ground and they just go from cloud to cloud. And so, that education factor is super important for us, and something that's so new and revolutionizing into the business.
Most of what I've thought about lightning my whole life is I'm Christian and I do believe in God. I'm fearful of God. Definitely. And I wake up every day and while walking around, I think I'm hilarious. And I don't get struck by lightning. And that is proof that God has a sense of humor, and I am hilarious. And I can tell my wife that I was right on both circumstances.
Exactly.
Well, it's a good thing that you're humble about it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I'm looking like this, so I won't be humble when I have one of these next to me because I won't worry so much. I can do what I want. See,
Okay.
that's what you're giving me a tool right now to set me upon the earth.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
What have you been doing? How did you get here? Where'd you come from?
So, I grew up in Spokane, Washington. Was in the Marine Corps for almost 10 years.
Thank you for your service, buddy. Love it.
Traveled all over, and then lived up in St. Louis for another 10. And finally, a beautiful woman convinced me I needed to live in Midland, Texas, and the glorious surroundings that it was in. She told me there was a lot of trees, and it was real mountainous and everything. And
I mean, for that area of that specific spot, sure, there are a lot of trees in Midland because once you get out of Midland, there might not be as many trees. People don't plant them out in the desert.
That's right. So the only thing that came true is that she's a beautiful, amazing woman, and has been by my side the whole time.
I do love Midland. I mean, I get a kick out of every time I get. I guess it's just the people and the energy down there. Something, and maybe it's the beautiful, people.
There's a lot of pride in what we do and the capabilities of what we bring to the stability and also the economic process within the United States as a whole, and even in the world for that matter. It's a real important asset all the way through and through.
I'm reading a book right now, and I really hope everybody takes the time to go and buy it somehow, buy it on Amazon, buy the audio version of it, and arguably it might be, besides the Bible, it might be my second favorite book. I mean,
Wow.
He's a game changer. Alex Epstein, Fossil Future, just peels back layer and layer in the onion of energy and why we're all here. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's fascinating to really go out on all the threads he can go out, and just everything goes back to energy. And the only form of energy we can really harvest really well is fossil fuels. So anytime somebody goes against fossil fuels, it's like putting a gun to your head and saying, strip naked, walk into the woods, and live off of the trees again. Go be monkeys again. Mm-hmm. That's what they will try to do in Washington for us.
100%. And all the everyday things that most people don't realize, whether it be plastics or a football or a basketball. Medicine. There's so many different things that it's fully encompassed in and ingrained into our society and everyday use that most people don't pay attention to it and realize the impact of economically and what it does for us.
Before I utilize anything as far as a platform, to promote education and energy literacy, I was just going to Twitter and mad at liberals and just liberal tears were my gold coins. Every time I got a hate mail was like a gold coin, and of course at some point, my wife was like, "You're really off the rails with your hatred of liberals." And I'm like, they don't get it. They don't understand. They're trying to shut down their industry. It's vital. She's like, and so that's winning hearts and minds.
Yeah.
It seems like you're going to your antithesis of doing what you should be doing, which is education at all costs.
That's right.
And then Trace Management's like, hey, I'll give you a podcast studio. Let's be positive for the industry. Let's give everybody a chance to come in and enjoy what we do.
Yeah, and truly educate people, right?
Yeah.
When you're thinking about a plastic bag that you're taking out of the grocery store, that you're not ripping a paper bag, or things of that nature. And recycling obviously has a big part of that too, right? We all have our one or two things that we can do a day to help the world, and the oil and gas industry is one of them.
We do it. Our energy, especially going from burning animal dung in a hut, or burning coal. I mean, coal was filthy, but the people that had witnessed burning the dung to that coal, they would have killed to keep their coal after they used to live in a hut. And now they're in this nice place in New York City, and it's all dirty, and the air's dirty in their house and outside. Yeah. But the amount of energy per molecule and all that, they're like, oh my gosh, we now have all these modern marvels. There's no way you're taking away our coal. Because there was people like, hey, maybe we need to go back. This is all dirty. They wouldn't have allowed it. And now the rhetoric is, well, we need to go back, and people are buying in.
Yep.
So it's changed because we haven't known hard times.
That's right. Well, I mean, it used to be, you think back in the day, all the way back to Standard Oil and the Rockefellers and all of that, and that they would harvest the petrochemicals just for kerosene, and then they would throw the gasoline out because it was a horrible byproduct, right?
Diesel was a byproduct.
No, exactly.
Somehow it's more expensive now than gasoline to run our vehicles. That's always like a weird deal to me. But also, we've let the government tell us to add water to our diesel to make them better. Like, what? Yeah, there's this new solution we call DEF, like definitely hurting efficiencies, but whatever.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, we're about to have a shortage of DEF, and you're not
Weird,
your vehicle. Yeah.
Strange how we can shut down trucking immediately by turning off the DEF.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we have really done it to ourselves by bad energy policy and bad economics running rampant through government. Like, no, we're not going to listen to that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So don't listen to it. If you have a diesel truck and can go out and take the DEF off, which you can do, I don't necessarily know that it's not illegal, but delete the DEF. That's my new hashtag. Delete the DEF, everybody.
Well, it's all about being independent, right? And not
be
being
that.
Yeah,
I can do that.
absolutely, and not being dependent upon somebody else dictating what you can and can't do in your everyday life.
If I can think about it, I mean, we have, I'm very dumb, but I have one thing I do is network and surround myself with really smart people, and engineers are nerds and they like me because I can have a good time and I show them how. So we exchange things, right? Like, well, you're smart and can do math, and I can show you how to talk to a girl. Whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
But I love them to pieces, so inevitably I'm like, can I delete my DEF? Like, yeah, here's how.
That's right.
And also, I'm going to help the environment by deleting the DEF because I don't put water in my diesel and make it. So, we were talking about this last night. Even if I only get maybe a couple miles more per gallon of diesel, okay, that's one thing. But then I don't have to stop all the time. Mm-hmm. And then I get maybe, how many bottles of plastic jugs per year that I'm not pulling over to refill.
Exactly.
That's right.
As much as you drive, probably one a week.
Oh yeah, I'm filling up that. I'm one a week. So
least
that
maybe
and
two.
which that plastic that surrounds the DEF.
Petrochemical plastic.
And then how many petrochemicals had to go into making that DEF? Like just the sheer volume of the people who went to that factory, and then all the chemicals in it that come somehow from oil. I mean, like,
That's right.
just the threads go boom.
That's right.
You're not saving the environment by adding water to our diesel.
What is it, like 7 pounds a gallon, right?
Yeah.
You got to transport that stuff all throughout the United
On
States.
diesel trucks.
That's right.
So you have a box truck full of DEF boxes made out of, not recycled trees probably, so the cardboard, the plastics, like the whole thing is like, it's a sham, and you bought it, and you let those people, you voted for them, and didn't fire them when they said, you're going to have DEF in your trucks now. Awesome. But somebody is up there like counting their coins going, we got them to put diesel in their and they got water in their diesel because of us. Like
They're paying for it.
They're the best marketing wizards. Like, why are oil and gas people not as adept at energy literacy as they are at energy illiteracy and fallacies of denying facts and data?
That's right. That's right. Making up your own narrative in this quote unquote fact checking world, that
we don't fact check, do we?
No, not at all. Yeah. Everybody just shoots from the hip and has diarrhea of the mouth, and gets to say whatever they want to say. And that's a good thing, right? I mean, we have freedom of speech in this country and we get to do that, but we also have a certain kind of ethical boundary that we need to hold ourselves to, and the reality of what our world is in the industry that we live in.
I think and maybe that's why I love us so much, and I've found my people. We can tell that we're the better people just because whenever there's a Democrat in office, we do so much better in our pocketbooks, and we vote against our pocketbooks. We vote for morals and ethics. We vote for, obviously they've given us this two-party system that we should all ignore as well. There's no two parties. There's one up there, and they're all about theatrical, cover-ups, I guess.
It's a shell game.
It's a shell game.
Yeah, with no ball in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good for TV for us to keep the sheeple in line somehow and give us like drama for each other to talk about.
That's it.
And luckily for us, oil and gas, they keep us so busy that we're going to provide energy to the planet. Like maybe that's why we've been so bad at all of this politics stuff. All of a sudden, we've kept our heads down and just said, I don't know. I never watched TV. I just I woke up one day thinking that, I was doing a great job delivering energy to the planet. Everybody's going to be happy with this. And all of a sudden people don't like us. Like, what?
You're the boogeyman.
Weird.
Yeah. The fact that you're even talking about it right now, I'm sure that there's people cringing out there, thinking that, promoting the fact that we are an essential, vital role in everyday life, right? And it's the irony of the fact that people convince themselves that they're not associated with it. It blows my mind. It really does.
Until maybe their young child, like in Alex Epstein's new book. I'm going to keep plugging him because eventually I'm going to get him in here because I just want to fanboy out on Alex. I go, your book's so good, just just read a chapter of it in here, whatever. But that day that emergency helicopter lands next to your Tesla, and takes your child to the hospital in an emergency helicopter. Like, I don't really care how much diesel fuel you use. Burn it up, baby. Get my kids there.
That's it.
Oh, I want to go on a cruise. Well, today I'll not worry about how I'm getting on a cruise to, all the fabrics that I wear and enjoy.
Yeah.
My North Frac or my, Petragonia goes out there in the middle of the woods, keeps you warm.
Well, as long as as long as you're drinking your drinks with a paper straw.
So, okay, this is a good story. We're up in Colorado, a group of Oklahoma oil and gas guys. It's salesmen and engineers. We go up there, and we have our little ski trips. And I think I was in Copper Mountain, Keystone, Breckenridge. I think we're at Breckenridge, and these kids have been trained by all this rhetoric, and they have it down pat, and they don't know why, but somehow a plastic straw is the worst thing on earth to them.
Yeah.
And I walk up to the bar and I'm getting the food and the drinks for everybody at our table. And I'm like, hey, ma'am, could I get some straws? And she went off and she got me. Her beautiful dreadlocks and her, choker and all the things.
Nose piercings. Eyebrow piercings.
Beautiful girl with all the fixings of a tribal elder at that point. And I'm just taking it, because I was like, I'm not going to start trouble. I'm just going to be quiet and take this straw thing and let her do her spiel and then take my drinks and walk away. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know how a plastic straw even gets from Breckenridge, Colorado to the ocean to kill a turtle.
Exactly.
I'm just doing the math. I'm like, that would be a feat. If the straw I use today gets out of that trash can, I throw it in and somehow stabs a turtle. But cool, sure. I will believe you. I'm the worst person on earth for this straw. And then I look next to me, and there's a bunch of straws. They're made out of paper. They're right there next to her. And I'm like, she just whipped my tuchus. All she would have had to say is like, yes, here's some straws. And given me paper straws. I wouldn't even care. I was like, okay, paper. I wouldn't. You could have said straw or paper straw or just said nothing. You said, here. I would have drank my drink.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I will never forget that tear down.
The
shame of wanting a straw.
You triggered her.
It was triggering. And I was like, did she just look at me and assume that I wanted a plastic straw? What if those paper straws were my favorite?
She was racist.
A little bit. Just saying. She saw some logo on my chest that reminded her of everything that she did not like.
Exactly.
Yep.
But I still went over there and had a club special.
There you go.
Through a paper straw.
Or three.
Actually, and that's the other thing. I think it took me 4 paper straws to finish it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
The amount of energy used, because those things melt immediately. They start crumbling, and then they get that whole delicious flavor of a cardboard straw.
That's it. Yeah, sucking on a paper.
And, if they would have dug a little deeper, you can make plastic out of plants. I mean, it is possible. They can go buy. That restaurant could have bought in better straws.
Well, I mean, trees certainly don't suck up any CO2, right?
Yeah.
No, they don't, right? I mean, you're gonna turn paper that you make out of wood that you cut down a tree with that absorbs the CO2
with a diesel engine machine and a person that lives in a house and uses. I mean, like you see, I mean, you just that coin just keeps flipping and flipping and flipping.
Yeah, I'm a dog chasing my tail.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So, and again, thank you for your service. Everything in the military runs on diesel. No one ever worried about that back then. Like when you were young, none of this came into your head. You're like, I'm here to do one thing. I'm here to kill bad guys against the United States of America.
That's it. Or willing to. You know, man.
The Marines. I mean, come on, you guys like eat it up.
Yeah,
as far as like, I am the grunt of the military might.
That's right. Every one of us aren't afraid to catch a bullet for the freedoms that are provided to us in this country. You know, there's a certain kind of feeling that every soldier or military person in this world, you know, has a love for their country that they're willing to go so far as to up and give their life for it. You know, the liberties that most people take for granted, you know, and that evil look that you got for that straw, she's afforded that, unfortunately. But that's also part of it too, right? And so that's her choice, and that's the way that she wants to live.
I still love and pray for her.
Absolutely. And it's that kind of mentality that inspires me to even want to join the Marine Corps or any other. I think fundamentally behind any other service member that's out there, that not just so much for the country, but what it represents and what the ideals of the founding fathers that brought to us. You know, there's not a lot of people that in this world that you get stuck in your little bubble and you don't realize that there's so many people out there that will never ever get an opportunity to do what you're doing, even if you're giving me the evil eye because I asked for a straw.
Yeah, so many of my family members got to go in the military and serve the country. My son, 26 years old, and he's been in it since he was, 18 in the Army, and he's been afforded so many neat learning opportunities and experiences. I wanted to be in the Navy. My whole goal was to get out of school, go in the Navy, travel the world. I had like a thyroid thing, and they're like, you're not in. I was like, but every family member, like my grandfather, the only person in the world I wanted to ever impress. My grandfather was like a Navy guy in World War II. He's like the ultimate man. I got to be an ultimate man, or he's just going to look at me in disappointment. Like, you better find something else to do. You're not getting in. That's my dad, served. I'm like, oh. So I'm probably not the coolest person in my family at all.
Well, just because you're not, you built that pedestal of what that is, right?
Absolutely.
And that ideal. But to a certain extent, you're a public servant doing what you're doing right now and spreading that literacy of the fact that we're not out here to kill the planet. We're out here to survive and evolve and make things better. Ultimately, that is everybody's goal to a certain extent that's in this room. And so when we're thinking about that,
you're in safety now.
That's it.
Isn't that funny how that path like goes? Like all of a sudden you've found this amazing technology that something you love, energy, you can now go out and protect with technology.
That's right. And not only just protect the energy, but save lives too, right? So, I mean, in the Marine Corps, we're all about, you never leave a brother behind, a fellow Marine or a soldier or anything. And so, just the fact that this device can save potentially one life. It's hard to prove something that doesn't ever happen, but I'm telling you right now that this thing is going to change the way that people look at lightning in general. And you see the catastrophic events that happen. Just the White House yesterday took a hit and a bunch of people got hurt there in the lawn in the White House. One of the most protected places in the world, and they're still taking lightning strikes that this device can now prevent, And so, it wasn't too long ago here where some soldiers that were in Georgia that were doing a training exercise that you put this on a tripod and you put it up, and all it is it's hooked to earth ground. It's completely inert. It requires no fossil fuels with the exception of the plastic, and it doesn't require any power. And you can stop lightning within that protected area. It's just, it amazes me, man. It really is. And it inspires me to want to go out there and spread and like almost be gospel. I want to be a reverend for this device and go out there. And, that's why in our logo, we got a little halo above it, because of bringing that enlightenment to people and educating them on the fact that it doesn't always need to be the way that it is, man. There are always ways to think outside of that box. And especially in the oil and gas industry, sometimes we always get stuck in been. Well, this is the way that it's always been done.
You mean we like the way it's always been? That's great.
Right.
Yeah, in every form or fashion of my life, I love the way it's always been. That means I don't have to do anything extra. If you put I'm about to make myself a whole lot of work.
That's it. That's it. Sometimes you see it on their face too when you're coming in. You realize that they're no longer going to have non-productive time because of the fact that we can prevent.
Okay,
lighting.
here we go. We gotta tell you guys about this thing. Okay, so I've known Ronnie a long time, and then thank you, Stacy Jones for she's with Mind's Eye. She does all this marketing stuff, but she helps run the Permian Basin Oil and Gas Show, and then you start all the fingers. And eventually, I meet you, and Ronnie's telling me he has a lightning preventer, and I was like, what? I was like, no, we take lightning strikes and shoot it into our tank batteries and light them on fire. That's what we do. I mean, because
well, that's a fun day.
That's a fun day, right?
Yeah.
But in oil and gas, we all joke. There's always these mandates of well, here's how you got to do it, and we don't care about the cost. So I want you to go out everywhere around the country and set up lightning rods on top of your tanks to take those lightning hits. Okay,
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
you mean put a fuse next to a bomb? Okay, we'll do that for you. And sure enough, you talk to your friends yeah, all my saltwater disposal facilities with lightning rods, that sticking a fuse up in the air was the best idea.
That's it. Let's actually attract something that goes at 300,000 miles an hour and is correct it within the next 200 feet. I'm going to hit the lightning rod instead of your product. It doesn't work that way.
I wish, I wish their science worked on anything. So explain, just tell everybody how lightning works as a refresher.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the re-education of lightning is what are the fundamentals of electricity? It's always going to go, whenever you have a positive charge, it's always going to seek the path of least resistance. And that's like with ground or with wires. If you put a resistor in there, it's going to go around that resistor into another wire, right? It's seeking that path of least resistance. And so when a storm starts to build up and the fronts come into each other, they will create a massive positive charge that needs to go somewhere. It's just up there running 1,000,000 miles an hour. There's a guy up there with a hamster wheel, just spinning away, waiting to go and send that charge somewhere. And so the way that it does that when it goes from the cloud to the ground is it travels on negative ions that are in the air naturally occurring, right? And that is the path. That is the conductor for lightning in order to go from the cloud to the ground. And so with this device, the DDCE is what it is. There's several different versions of it, all the way from 100-meter radius protection. So you're talking a football field in each direction.
So this preventer, this lightning preventer, it's a circle of protection.
It is.
Within a certain area, lightning will hit that and it won't even hit it.
It won't even hit the protected area. This is not an attraction device. It is, and it's not even.
So you have all these metal balls sticking up all over a area, and the lightning is no way.
It can't.
Someplace else to
go. So picture if you're in a downtown area, you got the Empire State Building and a much shorter building right next to it.
Right.
There are times that shorter building will take the lightning strike and not the Empire State Building. And the reason being is because the saturation of negative ions that are in the air is the path of least resistance, right?
And when storms blow in, sometimes those ions go lower, not higher.
And it will saturate the area with negative ions. So you're creating basically a grounding rod straight into the sky to say, hit me. But with this device, by pulling naturally occurring positive ions that happen in earth ground and storing it in a disk on the bottom of that dome, it acts as a magnet to all the negative ions that are floating around in the air. Opposites always attract when it comes to magnetism and electricity, right? So positive is always looking for negative and vice versa. And so by storing all those dense positive ions on the bottom of the disk right there, it attracts all the negative ions to the top of the dome like a magnet and does what's called the trickle charge back down to earth ground, because that's all that it connects to is earth ground, just like an old style Franklin rod does, except the Franklin rod is meant to attract lightning and then attempt to shunt it to ground before it goes through the facility. Well, with a 6% efficiency rating, how is that really? But that's
something else is going to get lit up out there.
That's all that there's ever been.
People or equipment.
You're burning cow dung. When you were referring to earlier about
lightning rods are the burning of cow dung versus LNG with this.
That's it.
There you go.
That's exactly right. And so, by removing that conductor or that wire or the negative ions that are in the air, that is how you prevent the lightning from ever coming into that area. It's not like it bounces off or anything like that. It's just going to find another path. It's coming to ground somewhere. You can't stop that from happening, but you can within this protected area of this device. And so that's the thing that's so revolutionary about it, is the fact that it's inert. It doesn't bring any other potential hazards other than the fact that it's going to protect our precious resources that we're collecting, and also the people that are out there servicing that stuff too as well. And not to mention the fact that not only is it the only prevention or protective device that's out there with this technology, it comes with an insurance policy that says that your assets aren't going to get hit. That's how effective it is. They're willing to actually back it and say, you know what, we're going to throw this out there. We're going to get this into the market, and we're going to saturate the oil and gas industry, and not just the oil and gas industry. But
anybody you talk to, hey, if you never want to have to stop golfing, golf courses around the country can put these along the paths. You were telling me Panama Canal now.
Yeah.
No lightning strikes on the Panama Canal in how many years?
In 5 years. In 5 years
they just
from when they
set these up within the distance to keep that circle of protection around, and now no lightning strikes.
So there's 130 of them that they put all the way from the Pacific Ocean to it's the Gulf of Panama, but let's just say the Gulf of Mexico, right? And so that stretches the entire canal. They have 130 of these devices, and they haven't taken a strike in 5 years. Ground Zero were the guy that invented this out of Dean Teco in Spain. Dean Teco is the manufacturer and the patent holder for the next 17 years of this device. There was a radio tower there that was getting hit 5 to 7 times a year. And so this was his test subject. This was his baby. And he finally found the right iteration and the right geometry and everything to it. I mean, just look at it. It looks impressive in and of itself.
It's engineered.
It absolutely.
Everything we do in oil and gas is engineered to peak performance, and I'm sure there'll be another version of this come out some year, but right now, this prevents lightning.
That's it. And so when he put this on top of a radio tower in 2003 that was taking on an average of 5 to 7 strikes a year, it hasn't taken a strike since. So you start thinking statistically about the fact that, you can't ever stop lightning. You're right, you can't. You can't stop lightning, but you can stop it in this protected area.
If you could eventually, when he engineers this, to redirect it at the people you want, like a drone strike.
There you go.
I'm just saying, maybe just like a buzz at your buddy, something like that.
We're going to have to come up with like a superhero name like Thor and his hammer.
I mean, if he can get this technology down really small, we all wear baseball caps. I mean, I'm just saying, we all wear baseball caps with those little bitty buttons.
Yep.
If I could have a wire that goes down to my golf cleats and I'm walking around the golf course,
that's it.
My whole body's protected from lightning. Ta-da!
Yeah. But
I really like what you were talking about. I don't want to interrupt you, but so I'm on frac sites a lot now, delivering my fire suppression systems, and that's so you're like, oh my gosh, all my tank gauges. I go around the country. And I'm bringing people data to their tanks. All this stuff you do, you now have all these new technologies and efficiencies and data. You can bring big data about, you and I are like hands. We just want to install equipment, and this protects that equipment. And your stuff's not getting burned up. By the way, it keeps my equipment from getting burned up on their tank batteries, but also I'm in front of the same customers, and now I'm not having to replace equipment and all this stuff, and we keep the ball moving. But frac sites, that's the funniest thing. We never think about it, but sure enough, if there's a storm moving in and there's a lightning strike within a certain amount of miles, until that activity stopped, that whole area,
it's shut down.
It's shut down. And that's a lot of money stopping and waiting.
Yep. So there's a location where we took their non-productive time from 7.5%-ish down to less than 1%, so it's 0.1%. And of course, the workers, the little guys that are out there pushing the buttons and running the motors, they're not so happy because they don't have their YouTube time. Maybe they may not be able to watch your podcast. So you might lose a couple viewers, and I apologize for that.
That'll be fine.
But it's one of those things.
I have 3 viewers, and they're in Pakistan. They come down the mountains once a month.
Yeah.
And them and their goats, Ali and Sheba, and little cuckoo.
Yeah.
You know, they watch their TV shows and they're like, "Oh, the mat in America." So I have 3 viewers from Pakistan from the mountains.
That's it. That's
go.
it. Yeah. So you're talking about efficiency, right? Well, let's also
No downtime for oil and gas
let's talk
sites.
about a really bad thing here.
Now, how many of these?
Green energy. Let's talk about green energy.
Yeah, you can put these around solar panels.
You can put these on solar panels. You can put them on. You can actually make a wind turbine completely lightning proof.
That's wait. I thought they like to.
No,
I thought they like to replace those. Those are my favorite videos that I watch on the side. Is like watching wind turbines on fire.
It's like what do they call those whirligigs?
Yeah, whirligigs.
Yeah. When the guy's out there and he's got a little flamethrower, it's like 4th of July all over again, you know. But the fact that these can increase the output of a wind turbine by 13% by removing those ions, those negative ions that's created through kinetic friction, which is also an energy source. It deionizes the entire environment as well as the equipment itself. So motors run better, Wi-Fi signals travel farther. So with the SCADA and the data transmissions and stuff like that, this keeps that from happening. It opens up the space to allow those radio waves to go through it. And then there's one really kind of interesting ancillary benefit of this, and this doesn't so much pertain to the oil and gas industry, but it does to our national defense. And so when we're talking about strategic reserves and oil and gas
reserves.
It is
ginormous facilities everywhere across the country
right.
with our natural resources.
We're talking about
hardworking men and women went to harvest them, and now we're ready to burn them up.
Yeah,
because we have no protection.
American independence. These things can stop EMPs.
Oh my gosh!
And solar flares too, as well. So not only do they protect against the lightning, that buffer zone or that deionized zone helps prevent the EMP pulse from actually traveling through it. So you start thinking about aircraft, and you start thinking about our military and all of the electronic.
Every military base should have these. Like what's the biggest radius again?
100 meters.
Every 100 meters on every military base should be one of these in every direction.
I agree 100%, and that's why I am the distributor in the United States for the entire federal government. But
I'm a terrible person. I went to golf. Like, we should put them on golf courses. Military would be better. Yeah,
you got to have your playtime.
But I believe in
schools. Oh my gosh, I want my kids' schools to have this.
Hospitals.
A little league baseball field. Who everybody's scurrying like
ants. Oh my gosh, what if a kid
stadiums
gets hit by?
You think about Texas Tech or OU or Texas. You know, any of the major football
parking
stadiums,
lots, all the things.
100%. Like I said, this is going to change the landscape of the way people see it, and they're going to be like, at first they're not going to know what it is, and then they're going to realize, you know what, I feel a little safer today.
Also lighter, you can float. When you walk it just actually you float.
Yeah, George Jetsen's coming through.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So how many? You put a frac site has you put one in each corner and then one in the middle, and the whole frac site is lightning free zone.
Protected. We're protected against a direct strike, and then we also protect against indirect strikes too. So nothing to date has ever taken an approach of an indirect strike. So say like it hits a tree or it hits an aquifer that comes up under the ground and into the grounding system of a building. A lot of times you'll smoke all the electronics. You won't have the catastrophic effects of a direct lightning strike, but the indirect strike too is also just as important as protecting your.
Kind of like when we were kids, and our grandparents and our parents. My parents may have been, cuckoo, I thought, but my grandparents weren't. They're always like, "Hey, there's lightning, get out of the shower." Or, "Hey, there's lightning, get off the phone."
That's the indirect.
And we're like, "That's not going to happen."
No,
it did. We're like,
it does.
Yeah, who knew?
Exactly.
I thought they were crazy, but no, a lightning strike can get you through your shower or your phone.
That's it. Why is my TV not working? I need to watch Netflix. Where's Yellowstone?
And the only reason I ever found out was, and luckily I wasn't in the shower. Maybe it would have been a different day for me, but my microwave got hit.
Yeah.
Because microwaves in the kitchen, they're the least protected appliance in the house.
Exactly.
And I didn't know that. And I was like, that microphone cost me like $500 plus the install from Lowe's. And I don't have it. Like, that's it. Hey, when you get up there and replace this thing, like, I'm going to have a surge protector right there too.
That's it. Well, surge protector's not going to do it.
He put something in there where my microwave was not going to get popped again.
Yeah.
I was mad.
Yeah.
Because I was like, how would I have known? Also, now I can't pop popcorn. I learned to use the skillet right up there. I was like, I already knew, but
Hey, Jiffy Pop, it comes in the little aluminum.
It's already there. Yeah, you know, throw it away as soon as you're done.
I'm sure you got a natural gas range in your
I
house
do.
that you can, and there you go.
There's no other way to cook. Come on, people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny. Man, there's so many good stories. I know. I wish I could just, maybe just every time you're in town, you come in here and we keep doing this.
No, sure.
I know Ronnie will. He loves talking.
We'll
and
do the
hanging
afternoon
out.
next time.
Well, oh, you want to get in some of this? Yeah, obviously we're also sponsors for all the brown waters in the universe.
There you go.
Yeah, if you're a real good hand and you come in here, you get to either pick in the morning. We drink coffee with whatever's in this mug. Sure, it's Colombian somehow.
It's got some coffee
It's
in it.
got something Colombian in here.
That's right.
And then in the afternoons is a different varietal of bean right here.
Yeah. And to think that your Colombian coffee probably traveled through the Panama Canal, protected by our domes.
I actually mix these.
Yeah.
Colombia meets Scotland all the time in here.
Sure.
There you go.
They love each other. They're
Yeah.
big fans of one another.
Of course.
Great. I love what y'all do, and I love the fact that I constantly get to see technologies being brought to help oil and gas operations, which again, vital to the world and human flourishing. So what you're doing is really you're heroic. Once again, you're still a hero.
And I appreciate that, and I don't take that too lighthearted. But
Don't.
I also don't want to take all the credit, because it's not me that's doing it. It's just I found a way to be able to express that through my enthusiasm of our
You brought it to me.
human race,
Yeah.
and wanting to empower the world to be a better place. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And so it's not me. It's just that feeling that I have inside that I think that all of us could probably use a little bit more of from time to time,
Yeah.
and take away that cynicism and just realize that it's okay to laugh at ourselves and make jokes, and that it's done in jest. It's not. We take ourselves way too seriously sometimes.
All the time. I don't. I stopped that. When I was born, I just looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, "You're too good looking to take yourself too seriously."
That coming from a guy on radio.
Yeah. And Bryson Varner, he came to Wolfwood Christian Fellowship. He always comes. Bryson Varner's such a hand, and he got up and gave his testimony yesterday. It was just all about encouragement, just like my life is about encouraging others. And here's why, like I go, Bryson goes to little islands and finds like orphans and helps them. Like, the guy is so nice and such a good encourager. And he was just reminding us, like, we were put here for a very short amount of time.
That's it.
Enjoy that time by encouraging others and helping others. You'll quickly forget all of your, woes and the things you complain about when you find fun causes to support like this. Like I am now, I'm on a mission to put out fire suppression systems on every possible oil and gas site.
That's it.
If I'm building an oil and gas pad, immediately if I'm an operator from now on, I'm getting 5 of these. And I will have it there for drilling, completion, production, facilities, workovers. Like everybody on that pad will be protected by lightning. Same thing for me. We have the same customers in mind. Like there's no place on earth that doesn't catch fire somehow, some way. So I have this cool fire truck in a box. I don't have to have a firefighter anymore or wheels. It can just be planted there. It's affordable and it can be spread out, for however you want. Right now, the frac companies are buying them, or service companies, but I see that vision of, well, I want everybody to be protected all the time.
Yep.
Last night, we got a call. We were sitting in the office, and Cud called us. Cud said, "Hey, there's a big facility burning up in Canadian Texas," and luckily, one of the firefighters that come in and we'll put them out. We have fire. We have our units, but the firefighter can go with them and sit on location too. So he was there. So 4 of us loaded up in our trucks, grabbed our suppression systems, went out to Canadian Texas. They had a couple water transports already there for us, connected to those. Yep. And we got to, I was a firefighter last night. I got to put out a whole facility, spraying it down and making sure that, and it didn't take us long. We were always like, don't wait. That's like the key to all this, right? Like,
That's it.
that thing will burn for a week, but if we get there now, we might be able to save. So, like, wouldn't it be better? All that equipment you just see burned up, and all the hydrocarbons you had harvested.
Yep.
one of these would have saved that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you think of all the production time just to get it to that point, the drilling, the fracking, everything.
The
that
construction
goes
of the
in-
facility that's now burned to the ground.
There's so many man hours that unfortunately, are at a risky, volatile state. And that's the beauty and the symbiotic relationship between your guys' product with the fire suppression.
This is going to be a package I see in the future. Like, hey, here's lightning protection, here's fire protection. I mean, I don't know what else to do out there at that point. We've got it covered as much as we can. Now we have with the technology that we've been working on, with you've been working on, like we have a real, neat,
That's it.
possibility now to really protect our assets, equipment investments and precious personnel. And every time I guess I'm at that age, I'm sentimental, but every time I meet somebody in the industry, I'm like, you are so vital to this industry and the world flourishing because of fossil fuels. But never forget that precious bubble of people that you protect at home. So
That's
you're
it.
precious to them. So I want them to go home safe.
Yep.
And now I get to be part of that.
Yep.
It's neat.
It really is. And how universal yours is. So right now, we know that the oil and gas is super in a kind of a volatile state, right? And it's such a precious commodity that's where you're focused on. But the fact that you can use it in an HOA, just like we can use something like this, we can protect entire neighborhoods or your buddy or whatever.
All of
you
our
can put
rural,
this on a house.
Our rural houses. You and I talked about that yesterday. Like, so many people are building a little bit further away from town. They're getting, these really great lots out in the middle of nowhere, these big houses. And man, this thing's on a flatbed and can be put, like you said, in an HOA. Like that fire department, A, I don't know how far away they are from you. B, are they a volunteer fire department? Are they going to be, on standby? Or is Edmond has a great fire department, but a little bit further out, all that stuff becomes, volunteers. And they may or may not either A, have the training or the equipment. I mean, Medford, we had that big fire up there at that gas plant.
That's it.
If that gas plant's on fire, Medford doesn't have the resources to put out a gas plant like that.
No.
But it was spread out all over the news every single day. And that it's terrible optics on our industry for that stuff to go on. And then we have to hope that anytime there's that fire, the Air Force has to be called in from Enid. And can you imagine those calls? Because military brass changes, at facilities like that. Can you imagine every decade that gas plant burns up again and again, and every decade there's somebody going, what? What do you mean? We send our fire departments to Medford from our Air Force base? Well, what if a plane catches fire? They need our foam units, but that's how it's been, since that gas plant's been
Wow.
So the Air Force has to, mobilize and all the levels of people to authorize soldiers to run into a town to put out a big gas plant fire. It's got to be a mess.
It goes to show you how strategic our oil and gas is to the nation, right? And we're putting soldiers on it. That's how important it is.
Their medicines that we vaccinate them. Hey, this soldier's about to travel. My son is about to travel to a country that gets malaria.
Yeah.
So he needs to be vaccinated against malaria. But without oil and gas, my son is put in harm's way just by not having the medicine. I mean, I can't even stop it. All the fingers we can get out to. But we'll talk about this a billion times over in here and. At least come back.
We got plenty of time, man. I'll be back. I look forward to coming up here and spending some time out of Texas. And man, I really enjoyed the talk and appreciate you having us up here.
Appreciate you
and
too.
Trace providing.
Appreciate him. And once again, he knows everybody.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
Good looking guy. It's because he had beautiful hair. I don't have hair, so that's why I just hang out with him, just pick up maybe a wave of hair.
I wish I could be everywhere, but the beauty of having the extensions and the branches out, throughout the oil and gas industry as a nation as a whole, and having key people like Ronnie out there to represent this product, and then also as tank gauges too as well, is super, super important. And I love being able to keep stuff local, right? There's no reason why we can't have somebody out there that's becoming a lightning expert, to a certain extent, and bringing that kind of stuff, just like you guys have with the fire, and slowly but surely changing people's hearts and minds one fire or one lightning bolt at a time.
Protecting people.
All right, so go around the room one more time. What's your name?
Ron Troglin, Tank Gauge.
Yep. Doug Marcille, Lightning Dome Protectors and Federal Business Solutions. Yep.
And then Matt Hill, Night Fire Specialist, and Knight Energy Services and SB Directional and Mason Specialty Tools and so many more, and Trace Management. Thanks again. And please go to oilfieldtailgate.com, sign up to be a sponsor, sign up to attend, sign up to get the newsletter, check out the calendar. The calendar has all the events of the MidCon on there and meetings, so AADE, IADC, SPE, all the acronyms. And anyway, appreciate y'all. Take care. God bless. See you next
Thanks.
time.
We'll see
Bye-bye.
ya. God bless America.